As a child, I used to go behind the laundry of the kibbutz. There was a slope where just the water from the laundry would just flow down the hill. And there was a reed forest there that grew wild. And this was one of my favorite play areas, to go into the reed forest and just discover the spaces inside it. And just because it was uncontrolled, it just grew. The way the grasses grew between the dump materials, that was great. That was nature, as far as I was concerned. The process of creating this garden was very unique because first it began 15 years before I got on board. It was designated to be another, very valuable property. They designated to build here some housing complex, and residents of this neighborhood 15 years ago began protesting about this plan and demanding that this will become a public park. And they would come here every Friday with their children and do a picnic in the parking lot. They called it a park, although there was no park here, it was just a parking lot. And they would sometimes in the summer do movies, like project films, and the children found so much to play with. The children loved the park. There was already a notion of a park. There was already something that existed in the hearts of the people that were involved. When the municipality asked me to propose what to do in the park, I said the first thing we have to do is to design a participatory process. And what was so unique about this was really that the municipality went with almost everything that I suggested. And one of the things that I insisted on was that we involve everyone. People from the local community, decision makers in the municipality, the people who are responsible for the maintenance of different parts of the park. And we met for maybe 6 times over a period of 6 months. And every time, we had a discussion. We presented the plans where they were at that moment. And then we had a circle where everybody just responded to what they saw. Sometimes there were arguments, sometimes there were discussions. Sometimes it was very hot, sometimes it was very cool. And slowly, in this way, the plans evolved in a way that created a language. And what it really afforded, what it enabled, was that when we came to difficult decisions that needed to be made, they were made without too much difficulty. During the construction, I kept asking the contractor to keep every piece of concrete he finds, to keep it for me, and he didn't understand what I want to do with them. He just thought it was rubbish. On the day when we were actually set to build the waterfall, I was walking here from the train station, and I just saw that on Kiryat they were emptying large chunks of concrete from a building site. And I asked the contractor if he's willing to give them to me. He said, yes, you can have them. I feel more like a child when I design something with found objects. It's more fun to do than to go to a shop and buy a toy. It's to find it and make it into a toy. So in the same sense, I like to just find things on a site and then integrate them into the design. What drives me is an inner experience that I had that walks with me everywhere. And this is the inner experience of being in touch with myself through being in touch with nature. being in touch with other people through being in touch with myself. And they're all dependent on one another. There is an interdependence. In my definition, nature is not some pristine wilderness. It's not necessarily green, and it's not necessarily alive. Nature is anything where natural processes take place. Natural processes are processes where there is no separation between objects, where everything is an environment, and that means that everything interacts with everything else. It can be in a very dry desert environment, it can be in a forest, it could also be in a garbage heap. There were three major elements of that experience of nature in the park. The first was this element of the water purification, which is the ecological system, working, cleaning itself, also has very high educational value. The second part was changes on a very minute scale, smaller changes, the sun, the shadows, the wind. The third element was the water on the surface. And the river is the heart of the garden, where the water flows on top of the old asphalt of the old parking lot that was here, embeds into it everything. It's the image of the old and the new. It's the image of the transformation of how a parking lot became paradise. It's the image of growth as the grasses grow in the little cracks of the asphalt paving. And the play of the children changes the landscape just as much as the water changes the landscape. And they interact with one another. So every day you will come there, you will find something else. Lahav, one of the most active people in the community, told me a couple of days ago that, Ram, you didn't do anything here, really. This garden was always here. You just helped it come about. And I felt this was such a great compliment, because to make something that seems as if it's always been there, that's the most difficult thing to do in landscape architecture.